Okay, my name is LaBau, and I would like all of you to benefit from my dumb decisions. Last summer, I went to New York City on a research trip, which is a good decision. Unfortunately, a lot of bad things happened along the way, and I'm here to tell you 5 things that can help you do a lot better. It all started out with me reading census documents, because that sounds so exciting, in the basement of the library. And I got to the mortality section, because that's the happy thing you want to read in the basement of the library. And I started to notice kind of a strange pattern in the causes of death that were showing up. Masturbation, crazy, homesickness, nostalgia was one of them, insanity, madness, werewolf disease. I'm not joking here, people. This is not a little-known disease. They're werewolves. And it's in the federal census documents as a viable cause of death. I gotta tell you, I was a little confused by this. I mean, everything I had learned about how medical science had evolved, I felt like that. I did not know what was going on. The culture seemed suddenly alien to me, even though it's the United States. I mean, we know that different points in history give us different things to look at. But basically, I decided that I wanted to go and figure out what was going on in the center of, well, arguably the center of the United States in the 19th century. I arrived at JFK, planning to depart from Newark. This is important to remember that. Now, my first thing I need you all to remember when you have a research trip going wrong is physical endurance. My bed was 5 feet 10 inches. When I say my bed, I mean the entire room was 5 feet and 10 inches. This is me, sick, on my second day, 6 feet 2 inches tall. Causes a problem. There's also no air conditioning, and by air conditioning I mean air movement or electricity of any kind. So I ran to my first archival research trip and got stuck in the elevator on the way up to the archives and got to wait for an hour to get out of that one. So I finally get there to the Cornell Medical Archives, and I get access to admissions ledgers from some of the asylums there at the time, specifically the Bloomingdale Asylum. It's amazing stuff. It's handwritten by different doctors of symptoms, and I can't tell you pretty much anything about it. Next important thing you need to remember is you need to learn sometimes to let go. Unfortunately, they're private documents, so I can only give you the broad strokes without permission from these people's ancestors to tell you the crazy, literally things that they did. It's really important that we learn as researchers sometimes to let go. That's why it's also number 3. This is a quote from the Bible. Also, he bade them teach, well, basically, it says, you should all learn to use a bow, like I said in that one book. Well, that one book isn't actually in the Bible at all. No one has any idea where it is. You have to let go. And if you let go and be able to move in other places, you find amazing things. Like this. Apparently, in 1876, I and 2 of my friends got beaten up for being Republicans, which I was unaware of. But there it is in a Senate document. Next thing, you're going to need energy, especially when you're living in, well, okay conditions. And it's going to mean coffee, and it's going to mean bathrooms, which is strangely an issue in New York, because there are a lot of public bathrooms, but you're often in places where you can't leave, like an archive. Perhaps the most important thing, though, is number 5, is always feel comfortable to ask for help, especially from archivists. I mean, if any of you have seen this movie, he's awesome, and archivists are even cooler. I know it doesn't sound the most scientific way, but there's no other way to say it. Now, this is me on my way home. Let's remember, I went to the airport. Let's remember, that's not Newark Airport. So I then realized that and go to Newark Airport, miss my flight, go back to my friend's house, and then go back to Newark Airport. The whole thing took a little over 13 hours, when it should have been a 6-hour flight. This, however, is where I got to spend the majority of my week. This is the reading room in the New York City Public Library. It's beautiful, the people are amazing, and even with all of this disaster and all this difficulty, I got a cold, I went the wrong direction on subways. Most of it was my fault. I managed to get letters on what I was researching written by Theodore Roosevelt's dad, not actually Theodore Roosevelt, but still an incredibly important and prominent figure. Now, even when you get home feeling like a child with sand in his pants, there's still victory. I've managed to learn a lot from this research trip and become a better researcher for it. And I hope that all of you, even when you have bad experiences like this, can do the same.